Good day and welcome back to Elementary 72 Gaming. So as I promised, I'm going to be doing a review of the tower from episode 1 all the way to where we are right now. But I'm going to do this here in a very special way. I'm actually going to go through 10 chapters at a time. Now, under the transformative guidelines and rules, I'm allowed to expose a certain amount of the story while showing it on screen. That's if I wanted to do that and risk the possibility of any type of legal action, which I don't. So you're going to see still images like this here. They transformative posters, they out of pixels. It is done intentionally. You're going to see things like this in the videos, but that's how they will go. I will change them slowly but surely, and for most of it, it's going to be extremely transformative so that I keep out of the 2080 rule in fair creation law. So let's go on to chapter 0 of the Tower of God. Chapter 0 starts with an introduction. It's quite simple. There's several lines given and there are several individuals pointed out. So the first question in the tower is, what do you desire? Now, one of the members of the first floor who we will meet as we go up had the suggestion under them for money and wealth. This is the small girl with the Shinwei inside the jar. She has the one with money and wealth, right? The next one was Huts, who showed up for honor and pride. Then we had Kun Aguero Agnes show up under authority and power. Now, there is a very strong reason why I'm pointing them out in this type of order, because each one of them have a special representation. We don't get the crazy representation for what we got in the entrance of the comic. Not the comic, sorry, the anime. And the next one that we get is Anak represented with revenge. And then right at the bottom, we have Rak. And he says, or something that transcends all these. So he wants something greater than all these desires. And right at the bottom, we have Hedon says, whatever you desire is here, right? And then we get the picture with Balm and the black mark saying it begins here. So let's get into the story, starting with chapter 1. Now, chapter 1 has a lot of hidden little gems. Now, I'll give you why they are hidden gems. If you look at it from the first one, you notice that they are running along a long path with big rock walls, right? So that tells you they're in an underground situation. They're in something that's enclosed, right? And then we get Balm grabbing and pulling the ribbon of Rachel, and he pins her down, and he asks her, "Where are you going?" Now, obviously, this is a narrative version of this. I will be skipping some of the information. So she says that she wants to climb the tower, and that Balm needs to let her go so that she can be reborn. Let me be born again up in the tower, as it would have been said. And then the tower finally opens and she goes. And Balm says, "Don't go. If you go, I'll follow you until I die." Now, I think that this is one of the most important parts in the opening. I think SIU might have given us what is going to happen in the end of the story. When Balm finally confronts Rachel at the top, when we get the final showdown, I have a feeling that Balm is going to destroy himself. The old Balm will take over. And the next scene that we get is Balm waking up in the bottom. And as Balm wakes up, we get a look at the murals on the walls around Balm. Now, Joe from Dr. Bonehead has shown one of the best depictions talking of this, and how it might actually represent things that we haven't yet seen in the story. And as we can see, all the murals keep going. We see various figures, we see Shinwei, and we see powers that seem to be emitting from great beings. Then we finally get Hedon interacting with Balm, which in some situation may seem like it's minor, but trust me, it is a major thing. Now, Balm in this situation is this doe-eyed little kid. Right, this is the Bam that we're being introduced to. So it's been a while since the last visitor and had opened the gate by himself. He's referring to the irregulars. The visitors who've opened this door that he has come through is Jahad and himself. That is it. The only two who have entered through that door. He opened the door, not Rachel. So we already know that Rachel didn't open the door because of this first statement, right? And he introduces himself. He says his name is Hiran, and he asks Bam what's his name. And Bam responds with the 20th of Bam. It's the day I was born. So we know that Bam is not his name. Jovial Grace is as close as we get to a real name for him. We call him Bam because that was the name that he went by for the person who mattered most for him, Rachel. And Bam has two meanings in Korean. It's chestnut or knight. So Hiran says he'll just call him Bam boy. So he asks, why did you come here? He says, I followed a girl. And he describes her, and Hiran thinks about it, and he gives the answer. All answers are up there. So saying that if you want an answer, you must climb the tower. Even though Hiran already knows the answer, we know this because, as I said, I'm going to be doing this review with the complete view of the tower as my understanding, all the way to where we are right now with Tramurai showing himself, and I think we're going to get to see some of the fighting with Tramurai soon. So whatever you're looking for, wealth, immortality, absolute power, magical abilities, as he said, it's just up ahead. But remember that it is a hard and painful journey to embark on. And it's at this point that Bam looks at everything, he judges everything around him, and finally Hiran begins the first test. He opens up the white steel eel, and he explains the first task, which is to evade the eel and pop the ball, right? And then he asks him if he's afraid, and he says that he's going to do it because right now he has nothing better to do. And as we know, he starts running towards the gate. Now that is the end of chapter 1, the first episode. We're heading on to the second episode. Now for a lot of people, the second episode is one of the best episodes you can ever join in on, because this is where Yuri shows up. Yuri and Evan are climbing down the tower, heading slowly towards the area, and they having a look at the irregular who opened the door. And they looking at him, and Yuri is starting to fall for him already. She notices that he is really handsome, and she notices the test that he is given, and she decides to intervene to stop him from getting himself killed. Now obviously Bam cannot understand her, and as she's speaking to him, he just looks blank at her. Yuri fights with Hiran a little bit, and they keep talking. Eventually Yuri calls down Evan. Evan doesn't want to come down because he doesn't want to get caught. Then Hiran reveals that he already knew he was there, and he presents the ball, the marble, the pocket to Bam. At this point it opens up, and Bam is now able to understand them because they are speaking the language Maxethian. Now Maxeth is the founder of the workshop, important figure down the line. I would never have known this if it wasn't for Dr. Bonehead, as I'm saying. So you will give me a lot of homage to where I learned a lot of this information. Even though I read the book several times, I still didn't catch on to it till I found that out from Dr. Bonehead. So at this point, Evan represents himself as an A-rank guide. An A-rank guide is kind of a big thing, because by saying that he's only an A-rank guide means that he is a ranked guide up to the A rank level in the tower. He isn't a ranker guide, right? He didn't say anything about that, and we do know that he is a ranker of the tower. An A rank guide and a ranker of the tower. That lady over there is Lady Yuri, also a ranker of the tower. Now we know that Lady Yuri is actually Princess Yuri Jahad, right? She's from the Half family. We know all of these things about her. They explain the functionality of the ball, and Yuri and Hiran get into a talk about reducing the level of the exam. And finally, they end up with a negotiation where Hiran quite manipulatively says that she can lend him the Black March if she so wishes, because she's not allowed to allow anybody but a Princess of Jahad have the Black March. And she lends it to him, and Baam refuses it at first because it would have danger for her if he takes it. And she says, if you want to climb, you have to do whatever is best for you. Evan obviously gives the snide comment, did you fall in love with him at first sight? Because it's a crime, and she hits him and tells him to keep quiet. At this point, Baam jumps into the eel tank, right? This is now episode 2 down. One thing to know about the white steel eel: it is hungry, it is mating season, and it's protecting the ball like an egg. On top of that, their Baam entering that place is a big situation because it changes a lot of how he is going to be perceived. Now, I know that this is something crazy to talk about, but soon after this here, we get the story about why Baam wants to follow Rachel so much, why she is the light to him, and why he fears losing her so much. So when he enters in, he just goes through with the utmost conviction, and he runs straight into the white steel eel's mouth and stabs its tongue. At this point, the white steel eel writhes in pain, and he manages to distract the beast from being able to attack him. Evan is actually shocked by this here because it is such a difficult strategy to focus on. Yuri was going to break through the test and rescue him even if it failed him, and Evan is the one who stopped her, saying that he's actually doing the right thing, he's going to pass it. And finally he hits the ball in the center with the Black March, and this ball is no ordinary ball. Now you have to understand, the Black March as a weapon is a weapon of one of the highest tiers unignited, and I'm saying unignited. It is a D rank weapon or B rank weapon unignited. That means that standard, it is insanely powerful. And if this ball is greater than that, that means that in order to break it, the individual who is wielding the weapon must have a power greater than an S rank. Now this is where episode 3 ends. It didn't have a lot going on. It just gave the hint that Rachel was the first person to ever come to Baam. Now there is something important. The ignition of a weapon does not improve the weapon's power. And it's at this point that Baam starts hitting the ball, and he takes out a chopper or cleaver that he brought in, and he smashes it onto the ball, and it just shatters to pieces. And he keeps hitting it, and he starts screaming, please, please. And all of a sudden, the eel gets agitated by his noise. Right at this point, I think I'm mixing up the story from one or two places. Wait, no, the steel isn't up as yet. At this point, Evan gives the urge to tell Baam to say, ask the Black March to help you. And he does, and at this point, the Black March ignites. Now, here is where an important part of this comes up. The ignition of a weapon is proportional to the user. If a ranker ignites a weapon, the weapon is like a disaster upon itself because your power flows through the weapon. The fact that Baam popped a ball that is greater than a B rank level or a D rank level on the first floor says that Baam is already greater than the power that they're starting with. He's most probably more powerful than most people on this level. The Black March lends him its power, and it asks about why he wants the power. So he explains that he's chasing his friend, and he explained that Rachel is a tomboy and she likes to lie, and basically he gives this image of her that says that she isn't all that fabulous, but she's something special to him nonetheless. And the ignition takes over and it pops the ball, and Yuri gets upset because the Black March only did it because it was in the hands of a cute boy. That's the only reason why it ignited, and immediately at that point the ball transports Bam up to the next level. At this point, Hiran says something very important. The boy went up. What will you do now, miss? Now, that was a snide little comment left for Rachel. Now, Evan is actually understanding that Bam is extremely dangerous. Now, here's the first thing that we needed to know. The Shinsu inside that cage should have pinned him down and slowed down his motion. So, number one, it was high pressure Shinsu. So, it was already at a disadvantage to most individuals. The next thing was the steel eel, which is generally not an aggressive creature, was purposefully taken during its mating season and left hungry. So it is ultra aggressive. And against this odds, Bam won this test. Now, for everybody who says Bam got too powerful too quickly, understand that Bam was over the top in episode... One moment, let me just give that number. In episode 4. Bam was over the top in episode 4. From here, we get a flashback of Bam relating back to Rachel asking about violence, and she basically explains, if someone hurt me, what would you do? He says he would fall. Then we get the image of Bam waking up on the test floor with the mic test, and he remembers everything that happened to him on the lower level, and he remembers Black March, who's still in his hands. He looks around and he gets the urge to run because he gets the smell of blood. And as he runs, someone wipes out each enemy, and the enemy who wipes out the enemy chasing him gets wiped out by somebody else. And then finally, he runs into the Dan family member, or the Dan tribe member, and he puts up a guard. Then we see Kun for the first time. Yep, Kun Aguero Agnes. Everybody's favorite boy. Yeah, this guy, the deviant. Yeah, so he shows up and he's having this question with a little bit of a talk with somebody. He ends up killing them because they attack him, and basically he really looks down on those who are easily manipulated. He has high standards and he expects the standards of others around him as well. So let's move on to the next part, which is the first killing test. We get Raak taking Levin's gun away from him and tossing him off the hunter's perch. Then we get him breaking the gun and Levin running like a coward. We then get Raak inspecting the field. He looks at... I just mentioned the name earlier. I can't believe I forgot it. Huts. He looks at Laure. He looks at... I'm forgetting the yellow-haired guy from the floor. But nonetheless, he looks around and he notices Anak Jahad. And that's the first strong person. And he realizes from the lizard, nope, it's a weapon, it's powerful, overwhelmingly. That would be hard to hunt, as he says. Then he keeps looking around and he says, yes, there's another one. And he sees Bam. Now, he doesn't sense Bam's power. Now, there's a reason behind it, because Bam's power isn't awakened. Then after that, there, Kun shows up and he starts talking to Bam. And after that, there he informs that the Dan family members are passive. That's Kun explaining it to Bam, and Bam's grateful. He was almost about to hit him, and then he remembers what Yuri said about the irregulars. And they continue their talk in the field, and as he says, you don't have to worry about me, but did you bring a pet? And he points to Raak. And Raak calls him a turtle. As we know, Raak views them all as prey, and turtles are the prey of wraith raisers. And then he expresses that he wants to hunt Bam. At this point, Kun looks back and he sees Bam. and he decides, darn it, you know what, I don't know why I'm bothering with this, but I'm going to save Bam. And he rescues Bam and they get away. So this is the start of what's going to be one of the greatest friendships. Kun does not notice the black marches yet. He hasn't yet had a chance to even read the inscription. He helps him regardlessly, for some reason feeling that there was something unusual about this boy. Then we get Hats and Anak fighting each other, with Shibisu watching in on the stuff, getting almost smashed to pieces while they're fighting each other. And we get Rak going crazy looking for Bam. Bam and Kun have a word, and he notices how honest Bam is. He notices the weird things about him, and the weirdest thing is he's too weak to be a regular. He doesn't seem to know anything about the tower, and beyond that, he's even more unusual than anybody else because he's absolutely ordinary. And you can't get in here if you're absolutely ordinary. You have to be special in some way. So Kun decides that he's going to make a partnership with him, and he says that he's interesting to get to know. And Bam basically has this fun little skit where he says that he's not that fun, and he thinks Rak would definitely be way better as a companion. And they kind of ironically look at each other. And it's at this point that Kun notices the Black March. So this is far down the line. This is already past the point where he's already decided that he wanted to team up with him. So everything continues in this episode, and that's episode 7's end. There's just these basic key topics. This is what's happening in season 1. If you're thinking about the anime, this is episode 2. We're already reaching towards the end of the second episode. Finally, Ra catches them and he says he's going to peel their skin. And within a few seconds, the buzzer goes, saying that time is up. Congratulations, you have won. And you know, they told to make their teams in 3-man teams. Everybody starts freaking out. Shibisu is freaking out because he has to make a team with the 2 crazies who are fighting around him. Kun is also freaked out because he has to go with the crazy crocodile as his team member. So everybody tries to do their best to persuade everyone. Anak and Hats just leave Shibisu and walk away. They decide they're going to look for somebody strong, and he just chases after them. And Kun and Rak start a negotiation, at which point he says no, he's here to hunt them and he will do it as he wants. He does things on his own accord. Then Bam asks why does he want to hunt him, and he explains he'll hunt you and your weapon to become stronger. At which point Bam realizes there's a way to do it. He just tosses the Black March aside and he says, hunt me. And this drives Ra crazy, like we've seen in the show where he keeps screaming pick it up, or in the Japanese Hiroi, right? And he keeps screaming it, and he keeps getting more and more aggressive, and Bam just keeps saying yada or no. So no, pick it up. That whole fight keeps going, and it really infuriates Rak. And Bam has actually planned this out quite properly. He knows that he's going to infuriate him, and he's going to try and jump on him the moment time is up. So finally, Rak goes crazy and he starts fighting. He fights a little bit with Kun, and then Kun tries to renegotiate with him in the last few seconds. And then finally, they decide they're going to board him like a jungle gym as time counts down. Kun intercepts the spear as Rak throws it at Bam. And it's at that point that Bam manages to latch on and catch Rak. And that's how this part stops. Obviously, we know that Rak screams at them because they jumped on him, and that is how episode 8 ends. The next part that's going to come is the part where Leraro actually jumps into this whole situation. They're all inside Evan Cal's mothership, and the second test point begins. So they're looking around, and we get our first taste of who has passed. And they're looking around, and everyone is having a good look at who is where. People are a little bit scared about their teammates, wondering if they made the right choices with who they were. There's people fighting about the loss of Lum and so forth, and how it's fair under the test rules. And finally, after Bam asked Cohen if he should interrupt, he said somebody will take care of it. And Leraro shows up and he explains that he's the administrator. And everybody is like a rank off the tower. And everybody starts calming down, and Bam explains how he is amazing. And then he realizes that Yuri and Evan were also these amazing people. And at this point, Leraro is still trying to be a little bit more friendly with them, and he says that there's going to be an emergency elimination test. If you don't pass this prerequisite, you can't take part in the test. And he pushes up Patience's wall, which knocks back all of the regulars except for Bam, as we know. And he says if your entire team doesn't pass, you aren't allowed through, and luck is very important. And as he's standing there, Kun starts to wonder if Bam could pass through, and Bam responds, "The blast of Shinsu didn't pass me out. I'm sorry, I'll go back and come back through." And Leraro says he thinks he made a mistake. However, Kun already knows that Bam was right next to him. And he says that's also a part of luck, and everybody is basically looking at him. Right, so everything is going on at this point. Everyone is looking at him because a lot of them know that he also got hit with the Shinsu wall. He just resisted it, and he must be crazy powerful. Even Leraro knows it, and we get the remark, "A monster has arrived." That is the end of episode 9. Now let's end this with the final part of this here, because I did do the entry epilogue before I got to this point. So let's do the final part, and let's wrap this up in episode 10. Episode 10, the regulars try and get through the wall, and Leraro tries to talk to Bam because he wants to know what type of monster is this. And they start talking, and obviously we know that the talk goes around with the bet. The bet is, who do you think will come through first? And Bam notices that Anak is different in that she can pass through. So he says that Anak will pass first, and he says the green girl. Leraro, on the other hand, gives her name. Now, that is something which makes him a lot different from the way that Bam chose. This makes a big difference. So it wasn't just they pointed their fingers and chose the same person. This is random choice. So Leraro says because he's a ranker and you drew with me, he'll answer the question anyway. So he goes and he asks if Leraro has seen Rachel. At which point Leraro thinks to himself he hasn't seen any girl matching that description in his tests. So he goes back to sulking. So he says he could ask about something else, and he says, "Can you tell me about your regulars?" At which point we get the others all trying to get through the wall. And we get a little third wall break with, I'm forgetting her name, I think it's Serena. She tries to walk through the barrier, and it starts making her bleed from her head. And she passes a snide comment towards Shibusu, and she basically passes on that he is a bum and didn't let him in. And, she just starts yelling about the narrator's epilogue to the story. Then Lowry goes through the barrier and he says he'll sleep here because nobody will come through in front of Shibusu and Serena, which makes them more angry, and they start beating it very hard, and they want to really get there and kill him basically. So Leraro goes on with explaining the whole tower. There's the outer tower, the middle tower, and the inner tower. And right now they are in the inner tower, where they will take chests and start climbing up the tower on the inside. And Bam freaks out and acts like he knows it. Of course, it's everybody's tower. Everybody's born in the tower. He explains what regulars are and what irregulars are. And he asks if irregulars are evil. And Leraro explains that they aren't. But the irregulars who have come so far are Pentaminum, Enryu, and Yurik Mizuno. which is one of the reasons why I believe that Enryu will be showing up in this season of the comic. They were also powerful irregulars. That's why they became feared, as he explains. And he says they're still up there in the tower. If you go up, you're going to meet them. And then someone has the outbreak and starts screaming about the barrier. Dororo walks through and he does his whole thing with Shinsu, giving him a blast. But I don't think the blast happens in this episode. He walks up and he basically just ends it off with, do you know what power lies above? And as that ends the scene, that is the end of episode 10. So in the next one, we will catch up with episode 11, but there's a lot of things for you to notice about the background. We get the hints of camaraderie. We get the hints of forced friendships. We get the hints that there's a lot that's going to go on in the story. We get the hints that people get hurt and that grudges are carried forward and that there's always somebody to intervene in those actions. It's the hidden little messages behind what we have been seeing so far, and I hope that these continue on as we go up the tower, because once this is all done, I hope that we have a fantastic series to look through, because this is going to be something that I am definitely dying to complete. There's going to be another 50 of these episodes, and hopefully they all carry on with this much of gusto for me. So catch you all in the next one and have a good day.